muted. Why would I be muted? I think I was muted just then. Oh no, things are already going horribly and terribly off the rails. The stream is only 1 minute long. I don't know. Can I blame it on Mercury retrograde? I'm pretty sure I actually can blame it on Mercury retrograde that I have no sound for the first 1 minute of the stream. Hang on. Chill, guys in the chat. Chat's delayed. So right now I'm hearing all of the no sound, no sound, no sound coming in. Guys, please make sure you mount that like button if you're happy that I figured out how my own sound works. This is a Mercury retrograde thing. What are the Mercury retrograde dates? Hang on, I'm going to Google this real quick. Mercury retrograde 2022. Joshua has been warning us that this is coming. Yes, we are in Mercury retrograde right now in 2022. We are in it right now. Joshua will be able to talk about this tomorrow. Guys, Joshua is going to be back tomorrow. Don't worry. We're going to do a special birthday edition show. But we are in Mercury retrograde right now. The dates are January 14th through February 3rd. And one of the things that happens under Mercury retrograde is that technology goes haywire. It does. Other things that happen are that people become horrible drivers for some reason. Other things that happen are that you should never, ever, 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 ever sign a contract under Mercury retrograde. Don't do it. Don't start new stuff under Mercury retrograde. It is a bad idea. But this is apparently how we're rolling today, guys. Welcome to Live at 5. This is a stream I do at 5 p.m. on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. On Sunday, I do effed up news. We had a great effed up news yesterday. I strongly recommend you guys go back and watch the stream yesterday if you haven't yet. It was an awesome, fun stream. Today, we're starting out how we're starting out. On Fridays, we go to my second channel, Actively Unwoke, for happy hour. And on Saturdays, I rest. I take the day off. Well, today's going to be one of those days where I've got a bunch of news stories to cover. And of course, the big news for the day is that Walkaway's Brandon Straka did get sentenced this morning. I did listen to the hearing. I have very strong thoughts about this sentencing. But I'm going to cover a variety of perspectives on that. I'm also going to read an awesome op-ed that Dinesh D'Souza wrote in the Epic Times about Brandon. Dinesh D'Souza has been, I did a stream last week where I talked about how conservatives, I do not believe, are standing up for Brandon and basically throwing Brandon under the bus after he was one of their most effective activists for all of 2020. And I find it deeply offensive that there are not more influencers standing up for Brandon. But Dinesh D'Souza did. And it's my understanding he's always had Brandon's back. I mean, obviously, Dinesh has some experience with this, so I'm sure he understands it on a new level there. But you know what's so funny is Dinesh D'Souza for me, when I was still a Democrat, before I had my Red Pill moment, Dinesh D'Souza always came off as like one of those people that I just thought was like an evil liar of a human being when I was still a Democrat. And now that I've seen that he's one of the few people that actually supported Brandon and had his back and, wrote the op-ed for him and talked about him on his show last week. It's really funny sometimes how perspectives can so easily change about someone, even if their actions don't necessarily change. It's just interesting that sometimes perspectives change. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to be the big focus of the stream today. I also have an article about how detrimental masks have been on children, which is something, of course, that I've been screaming about for the better part of a couple of years. So we're going to talk about that. I also have an amazing campaign video from a new congressional candidate that we're going to watch. I am so thrilled that this person is running for Congress. I cannot even tell you guys. And I've got a couple other things that are on the docket as well. So we're going to get right into it. But before we get into it, guys, I do want to remind you that if you appreciate the work I do and the streams I do and the activism I do and all that good stuff, the very best way that you can support me is, of course, by subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Of course, by mounting that like button. That'd be pretty great. But if you really want to help me out, the very best thing you can do is support my work by joining my locals community as a supporter. When you join my community as a supporter, you not only get access to ad-free video, you not only get access to exclusive live streams that are only available in locals, you not only get access to an amazing community of people, many of whom, or not many, but like some of whom are in the chat right now. You can ask them about their experience in locals and they can tell you. You also get access to a whole host of exclusive perks and the full breadth of all that Locals has to offer, including we do 2 Zoom calls every single week, and one of them is on Mondays. So I will be having a Zoom call with my Locals supporters in about 2 hours. So you got plenty of time to sign up to join. These Zoom calls are easily the highlight of my week. Last week alone, I spent about 7.5 hours on Zoom with my locals between the Monday and Wednesday calls, and they were amazing. That Monday Zoom was particularly in our Monday Zoom. One of my local supporters taught us about the history and evolution of playing cards. And I know that may not sound like a big deal, but it was fascinating. It was fascinating. It really was. We support each other. We help each other out. We give each other sage advice. We are shoulders to cry on. The community Zooms, you can come and talk about whatever you want, but they're the absolute favorite part of my week. And I'm looking forward to a couple of hours from now when I get to gather together in a private Zoom that is not recorded with my locals to talk about whatever is on their minds. Naruto says, everyone take a minute and go buy Peter Schweitzer's new book about his research going through Hunter Biden's laptop. It's going to be juicy. Naruto, I've seen pictures from that laptop and I am not altogether convinced that I would like to learn more about what was on that laptop. So that's what we're going to do there, guys. Head over to kb.locals.com if you would like to become a supporter. And also, just a reminder, please make sure you check out my new website and platform, activelyunwoke.com. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you are on YouTube, it is in the description. If you are watching on Odyssey and Rockfin, Actively Unwoke is a website for the book that I wrote that's coming out in at the end of April, filled with case studies and actionable tactics about how you can fight back against woke insanity in your lives. But it's going to be so much more than that. It is going to be a platform where everyone who wants to fight back in some way, whether that be a big way or a small way, we're going to come together. We're going to mastermind different ways to fight back. I am right now, what I've been working on for most of the day today is I'm building a back-end knowledge base where what we're going to do is we're basically going to create I don't want to use the word wiki because it's not really a wiki, but like a knowledge base of different tactics that normal people have used to fight back against the woke all over the country, maybe even all over the world, who knows? But it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a full knowledge. So if you want to know, Carlin, what can I do to fight back against the woke if they're coming into my school? You're going to be able to go into the knowledge base on this website and get an actionable list of tactics that we're going to crowdsource. I am creating an entire unwoke army on this platform. Everything is going to be crowdsourced. It will be the only real crowdsourcing platform, regardless of what anyone else tries to tell you. We are going to come together and mastermind and create this knowledge base together. Me and my locals have already started doing this. We've already got some great ideas from masterminding ideas together. And what we're going to do now is make those ideas public so that every single person can access them for free. That's what I'm building right now. But the other thing you're going to see on this website, if you go to the live events section, is I've got a series of webinars coming up. I've got me on February 1st talking about the dangers of critical race theory at a very introductory level. I've got Nicole Solis coming on February 11th to talk to us about how to write public records requests for your schools to find out what your kids are learning. And just announced yesterday, this is brand new, I've got Paul Rossi coming in, and he is going to show us research that he's been doing about what is actually taught in teacher diversity trainings that are paid for by your taxpayer dollars. Paul has clips for you to show. It is frightening. It has already been censored on Twitter, but they can't censor us from a private webinar, which is where Paul is going to be showing that on February 17th. But we got all sorts of stuff going on Actively Unwoke, guys. Please check it out. Pre-order the book. Get involved. I am going to make fighting back against the woke in your everyday life fun. We're going to gamify it. We're going to make it a community activity. Life doesn't have to be miserable even when you're fighting miserable people. you can still have fun with whatever you're doing. And the more you have fun with it, the more likely you are to keep doing it. So let's make this fun. Let's make this feel good. Let's make it feel like we're working together as a team towards a common goal, not engaging in internet bullshit. That's what we're going to be doing on Actively Unwoke. Emphasize said, would you be surprised if turncoats and posers made Republicans change political affiliation to Democrat, skip to pro taking kids from their parents? I don't know. I've actually seen, you know what's funny? In New Hampshire, there have been like 4 Democrat state reps in New Hampshire that have defected from the Democrat Party this year. There are a whole bunch of Democrats in the United States House of Representatives that have already just bowed out of like, they're just like, I'm not even going to try to run again because it's going to be impossible. So I don't know. Would I be surprised if turncoats and posers made Republicans change political affiliation? I would be surprised about that. I think the Republicans are more or less pretty locked in. I could see them going from Republican to Libertarian. I could absolutely understand that. But I don't think Republican to Democrat. I'm not worried about that. Naruto says, I knew you'd lose it when you read about a teacher barking at a student that identifies as a cat. And lose it, I did, Naruto. Lose it, I did. Guys, if you don't know what he's talking about, I posted the clip on the channel earlier today. You can check in on that. All right, let's jump into our first story. A social media influencer behind the walkaway movement got home detention for his role in the Capitol riot. So I know that one of the things that Brandon was concerned about was he knew that as soon as his sentence came out, that the leftist media was going to jump all over it and write their little hit piece stories. And of course, this is exactly what's happened. I'm sure this is what happened on Business Insider, but just to make sure everyone is on the same page with where we are, I thought it would be a good place to start, and I will make sure to correct any lies or inaccuracies that are in this article as we make our way through it. A social media influencer who spoke at a pro-Trump rally the day before the January 6, 2020 attack on the U.S. Capitol, was sentenced Monday to 3 months of home detention after pleading guilty to a disorderly conduct charge stemming from his participation in last year's deadly attack on the Capitol. Now, let's just be clear. I think what Brandon got sentenced to is absurd. It is an absurdly harsh sentence. What Brandon pled guilty to was essentially yelling at a police officer on Capitol grounds. That was what he pled guilty to. And they gave him 3 months of home detention. They gave him 3 years of probation and a $5,000 fine that the government didn't even ask for. And this was a Trump appointed judge that did this. And I listened to that judge. I'm going to show you some reactions to the things that the judge said. I listened to that hearing today. I was floored at this judge. This judge was obviously persecuting Brandon for his political speech. The government very literally said in the hearing today that Brandon incited the January 6th riot over tweets he made in December. The judge talked about statements that Brandon made on January 7th. So the judge is like, no, I'm not persecuting him for his political speech. That is obviously protected speech. Well, then how do you reconcile that with the fact that the judge brought up speech that Brandon made on January 7th? When she was considering his sentence? Because if it was just about what Brandon pled guilty to, which was yelling at a cop on Capitol grounds, then there would have been no need at all for that judge to take into consideration any additional speech that Brandon made, particularly the day after the event happened. The judge seemed pretty pissed that Brandon wasn't able to, in the heat of the moment when you don't even know what's going on. The judge seemed pretty pissed that Brandon couldn't just zoom out and look at the whole situation and see clearly what was going on from every single angle. Guys, as someone who was at the Capitol on January 6th, I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what was going on until I got back to my hotel room later that night and I watched the footage. You can go back and watch my live streams. I have not hidden a dang thing of this. I had no idea what was going on. I imagine Brandon was in exactly the same position. And it is absolutely absurd to me that this is a Trump appointed judge. But anyway, we're going to get back to that in a sec. Let me read the rest of this. Blah, 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 blah. Handing down the sentence, Judge Dabney Friedrichs pushed back against Strzok's claims that he did not fully understand the magnitude of the violence on January 6th. Friedrichs noted that Strzok had called for the rioters to hold the line and was near a Capitol police officer whose shield was ripped away by pro-Trump supporters. When Brandon said hold the line, he didn't mean violence. He didn't mean violence. And I'm a little pissed for Brandon's lawyers not calling this out more directly. That was obviously not the intent of what he meant, and anyone who has ever talked to Brandon actually knows that. It's very hard to draw the conclusion looking at the video footage, and particularly his comments at the time and immediately thereafter. He seemed to buy into the notion that it was okay to storm the Capitol. I'm sorry, this judge is a raging idiot. This judge kept saying over and over again, I watched the footage. I saw what happened. If you have seen that footage and you thought that Brandon instigated any of that, you are a moron. This isn't even hard. This isn't even difficult to deduce. This judge is a raging fucking moron. I don't care if Trump appointed her or not. Moron. Friedrich's sentence included 3 years of probation. The period of home confinement fell 1 month short of the 4 months prosecutors had recommended going into Strzok's sentencing. In court on Monday, federal prosecutor Brittany Reed highlighted Strzok's wide following on social media and public comments, going back to December 2020, calling for civil war and predicting violence on January 6th. Not only did he predict it, he encouraged it. Reed acknowledged that Strzok did not enter the Capitol on January 6, but said that that was only because of the tear gas that met him when he neared the door of the building. So the government's argument is literally that had they not been tear gassing people, Brandon would have entered the Capitol. And therefore, Brandon should be treated as though he entered the Capitol because he definitely would have if they hadn't been tear gassing people. Does that just seem wrong to anyone else? Strzok's defense lawyers said the Justice Department was improperly bootstrapping inflammatory allegations onto a guilty plea to a misdemeanor disorderly conduct charge. I think it's a really dangerous path the government is going down and what we view as the criminalization of political activities. I'm not going to read the rest of this because it's Business Insider and I don't really care that much. But I do want to read this thread from Julie Kelly, who was covering the hearing, and she's got some thoughts in that. And you guys can go and check out her Twitter. She's Julie_Kelly2. So you can see the full thread. Let's see. The judge said a Trump appointee presiding, the DOJ claiming his actions were not 1A protected. So the Justice Department was literally saying that the First Amendment did not protect Brandon's speech, which of course is false. This is a very serious case, the prosecutor said. Friedrich wants to know, given Strzok's resources, why the DOJ isn't asking for a fine. So the DOJ, the government did not ask for a fine. They asked for a $500 restitution. The judge proactively decided to fine Brandon $5,000 because she was pretty sure that he could afford it. And I'm sure that's not going to be a problem. But that does for a Trump appointee? Fuck you, lady. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Man. This is your DOJ sentencing memo. Who wants to tell them? So let's take a look at what she's got here. This is from the DOJ. The nature and circumstances of the offense. The attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th is a criminal offense unparalleled in American history. It represented a grave threat to our democratic norms. Indeed, it was the one of the only times in our history when the building was literally occupied by hostile participants. Does anyone remember when that building was occupied by a massive group of women who were really unhappy about Brett Kavanaugh being nominated to the Supreme Court? I do. One of the only times it's been occupied, please. Hang on. Clicked something I shouldn't have. Strzok attorney fighting the DOJ's double talk, blasting the DOJ for making incendiary claims in courts and documents while seeking plea deals for nonviolent misdemeanors. This is a chronic approach by the DOJ. This is the criminalization of political activity. It's protected. Yes. I was disgusted by what I heard today. It is so obvious to anyone that was listening to this hearing that Brandon was being persecuted for protected speech. Ragingly obvious by not only the DOJ, but also by the judge herself. This is America. This is what we do. Friedrich pushing back. Didn't he know when he arrived that the Capitol had been breached? I don't find it credible that he had no idea what was going on. That does not ring true. Now she's reading his tweets that say, hold the line. Strzok's attorney says he got caught up in the moment. At no point did he know actual violence was committed, which was true. Brandon would have no reason to think that actual violence was committed. The context of this is Brandon had been doing rallies for months and 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 months, filled with Trump supporters, and there was no violence at any of them. There would be literally no reason for Brandon to think that Trump supporters were violent because the entire 7 months leading up to this, he had been at rally after rally after rally after rally that were perfectly peaceful and nothing happened. And when something did happen in Dallas, it was Black Lives Matter that did it. It wasn't us. It was Black Lives Matter. No clue why anyone would take a plea and be subjected to these moronic judges, because he didn't want to have it dragged on forever. That's why he took the plea. She's mad his statements don't conform to groupthink about January 6th. He was not a peaceful protester, she says. That is provably untrue. The judge, there is still an effort to minimize what he did and what he was part of that day. No weapons charge, no assault, no destruction of property, but DOJ claimed without Strzok's involvement, the Capitol riot wouldn't have happened. It took him a while to come around. They literally made this claim. They said that if it weren't for Brandon Straka and his tweets, that January 6th wouldn't have happened. Does that sound ridiculous and absurd to anyone else? With a thinking mind, does that sound ridiculous and absurd to anyone else? Because it certainly sounds ridiculous and absurd to me. Friedrichs refers to January 6th as an attack on the Capitol and claims Strzok condones violence. Strzok's attorney explains far and above consequences Brandon has suffered, notes the disparity in the DOJ sentencing recommendations over other January 6th defendants. So there were other defendants for January 6th that got 1 month of home confinement, going in the building and walking around. But Brandon was given 3 months of home confinement because the judge says that he was encouraging others. That's not true. Strzok, judge says, thinks it's okay to storm the Capitol to contest an election. They are not patriots, the judge said. He thinks that it's okay to ask his millions of followers for an audit of the election. My God, she makes Berman Jackson looks fair-minded. The judge said he started this movement, which the mission was to bring together all walks of life and to not be violent. His actions that day were so inconsistent with that. No doubt Strzok is targeted because he started a political movement to walk away from the Democratic Party. Yes. Julie gets it. Strzok again says, the judge again says that Strzok supported a plan to storm the Capitol. No, he didn't. He didn't know what was going on. No one knew what was going on. Strzok up now. He has submitted a formal statement to the court, says the DOJ describes someone totally dissimilar to him. I don't know this person. Strzok received at least 500 character letters on his behalf, talks about friendships, family connections gone forever. I am sincerely sorry to everyone in America, even those who hated my guts before January 6th. He apologizes to the police and Congress, promises to do better. The judge rehashing the case says trespassing at the Capitol isn't protected by 1A. Deeply troubling. Strzok used his social media platform to condone January 6th. He undermined the rule of law by engaging in storming the Capitol, notes, letters, overcoming addiction, etc. The judge announced that that she sentenced him to 3 months of home detention, 3 years probation, $5,000 fine, and 500 restitution to the Capitol architect. So that's where we are. That's how it happened. There's also an article, I'm not going to read it, but I want to just bring your guys' attention to it from the Gateway Pundit, basically saying the same things. The Gateway Pundit has always been very supportive of Brandon. So you guys can read that article too if you want more quotes from what the judge said. But here's the thing, guys. Yes, the sentence sucks. It does. Yes, that judge was a raging moronic bitch. I said it. I don't give a fuck. That judge is an idiot. But it's now over. Brandon at least knows what he's looking at now. Listen, they delayed his sentencing 5 times. There were 10 total delays in this case. They kept dragging it out. I think that the fact that it was dragging out so long probably was the thing that drove him the most crazy about the whole thing. And so I'm glad for him that it's over. I really am. I'm glad for him. Yeah, he's gonna stay at home for 3 months and he's got to wear an ankle bracelet, and that's gonna suck. But it's not the worst thing that's ever happened in the world. Yeah, he's got 3 years of probation, but the judge did not require the electronic monitoring that the government wanted. The government wanted to monitor everything Brandon did on a computer for 3 effing years. And the judge said no to that, which is actually something, I guess. But what this does mean is that Brandon is now going to be able to start to get his life back. He's going to start to be able to build up Walkaway again. He's going to start to be able to make public statements again. Maybe Brandon trapped in his house for 3 months is one of the best things that could have happened to him, because he's going to be able to get to work and have all the time in the world. He lives in Nebraska. Well, it's not like he was doing anything anyway. Come on. What was Brandon really doing anyway? Matthew says, I guess the feds were not at walkaway events. I guess not. And then Starvard, turns out free speech does have a cost, which in this case was $5,000. Apparently, free speech does indeed have a cost. Well, guys, I really do believe, just on that note, I really do believe that we need to be pushing free speech. I mean, listen, man, one of the reasons that I say outlandish things on Twitter is quite frankly because I can. Because if you believe in free speech, the only speech that really needs to be protected is speech that you find offensive. So, I don't know. $5,000, Jesus Christ. But I did want to read this op-ed written by Dinesh D'Souza, just because Brandon hasn't gotten a lot of support in this whole thing, and he should have frankly gotten a lot more than he's gotten. And Dinesh has really supported him. And so I wanted this on the record as well. Let me just take a look at this. I'll make the font bigger for you guys. The ordeal of Brandon Straka. The ordeal of Brandon Straka, founder of the Walkaway movement, in the context of his involvement in January 6th, is a chilling window into the media, how the media and the Biden Department of Justice manipulate the truth in order to cover up a political prosecution. Straka, who was arrested in the aftermath of January 6th, pleaded guilty to a single misdemeanor of disorderly conduct and is due to be sentenced today. The Biden DOJ wants Straka sentenced to 4 months of home detention and 3 years of probation for his conduct on January 6. This by itself is not an unendurable sentence. As I told Straka myself, it's not so bad to be forced to live in your own home. Even so, the sentence is wrong and excessive for one simple reason. Straka basically did nothing wrong. He's being prosecuted not for what he did, but for what others did. Guys, never forget, Brandon Straka did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. And none of us should shy away from declaring that. Brandon Straka did nothing Wrong. The left leaning site Politico reported that prosecutors consented to a lighter sentence for Strzok because he provided potentially significant information. The article implied that Strzok was ratting out his fellow protesters and also ratting out Trump. Obviously, the Biden DOJ would salivate at this prospect, and equally obviously, Strzok would be ruined among conservatives if he were perceived as some sort of sellout. The truth, however, is quite different. I asked Strzok directly about what he told prosecutors. He said he told prosecutors that they were mistaken in identifying him as the man who tried to grab the policeman's shield. Prosecutors were ready to charge Strzok with a violent offense based on video evidence, but Strzok said the video clearly shows it was another man who grabbed the shield, and Strzok's potentially significant information was to identify who that man was. So there is a conservative douchebag in Florida whose name I'm not even going to mention on this stream because he frankly doesn't deserve the attention, that's been running around saying that Brandon Straka is turning in Trump supporters and that Brandon Straka has turned on everyone and that he's a grifter. Now you're learning exactly what Brandon said to them. Brandon tried to help them identify the person who tried to grab the shield of the police officer, which was what he was being accused of. That's what it was. If you have an issue with that, dude, I just don't know what to tell you. I just don't know. Based on Strzok's information, this charge was rightly dropped. Obviously, Strzok had every right to seek exoneration on a false charge. He didn't sell out Trump, and he didn't sell out other protesters. In their sentencing memo, prosecutors attempt to fault Strzok with doing nothing to discourage rioters from removing the shield. But it's one thing to accuse a man of grabbing a shield from a cop, quite another to say he did nothing to prevent others from doing so. Full disclosure, Strzok is a friend of mine. We've communicated since he founded the Walkaway movement to encourage and embolden disenchanted Democrats and liberals to move right. I spoke at a Walkaway event in Portland a few years ago, and Antifa showed up with bats and sticks, only to discover that we had security guards armed with guns. The Antifa thugs suddenly became very well behaved, and one of them took out his flute and began to play it. Strzok went to the Capitol on January 6th not because he was an insurrectionist or a terrorist, but rather because, like most of the others there, he believed the 2020 election had been stolen. Notably, Strzok never entered the Capitol. This is significant because when Representative Adam Kinzinger, who serves on the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's January 6th commission, accused the actions of Ray Epps, the man who openly urged protesters to enter the Capitol, Kinzinger noted that Epps didn't break the law because he did not go inside of the building. Well, neither did Strzok. Lacking any genuine evidence against Strzok, the Biden DOJ basically seeks to have Strzok sentenced for his political beliefs. Strzok, for example, posted on social media, "Our government no longer listens and takes instructions from the people. They've decided to become dictators to the people. It's time to rise up." This is boilerplate political rhetoric. It's hardly a summons to insurrection. Moreover, Strzok posted this a month before January 6th, so his words can hardly be portrayed as an imminent call to action. This is literally, guys, what the government said incited the riot. Was this tweet from Brandon a month prior to the riot? That was their argument in today's hearing. Contrast what Strzok said with what Kamala Harris said during the Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots that produced looting, arson, and even murder in the streets of many cities. They're not going to stop. Everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before an election day in November, and they're not going to stop after election day. Everyone should take note of that. They're not going to let up, and they should not, and we should not. What is this, if not an extortion to violence by the current Vice President of the United States? In a final desperate move, the Biden DOJ attempted to saddle Strzok with the actions of protesters other than himself. The sentencing memo says that if Strzok and others had never showed up, there would have been no Capitol breach. True, But Strzok himself never breached the Capitol. The government also lumped Strzok in with the crowd, saying in effect that what the crowd did this and the crowd did that. In a free country, however, we're responsible only for our own actions. I wish the presiding judge would consider Strzok's actual culpable conduct on January 6th, which is nil, and give him the appropriate sentence, which is nothing. That's not likely. But the judge can still send a message by giving Strzok a token sentence. He's already endured enough over the past several months, and the real guilty parties are the ones trying to lock him up. Thank you, Dinesh D'Souza. Thank you for saying what so many other conservative influencers should have been saying but did not. So I guess that ends a very long year of this drama for now. Brandon's going to have to stick around home for a couple of months. I'm sure he's going to have to do stupid stuff with probation. But at least it's over. At least now we have a conclusion. I hope genuinely he has some sort of closure in this. Because I know he has big plans, and I know he wants to move on, and I know the entire walkaway team wants to move on. And now there's at least a date range where Brandon's going to be able to come out into the world and do things again. And I can't wait to see what he does. If the Democrats hated Brandon before all this, and now he's been subjected to political persecution for his beliefs, oh, I would not want to be on the receiving end of what they're going to be on the receiving end of. I cannot wait to watch what Brandon does when he comes back. I truly think it's going to be a sight to behold. Matthew said James O'Keefe did not get much support when he was arrested in Louisiana several years ago either. Brandon needs to make himself I think that's go out in public so that it is untenable for this to happen again. I bet you that's exactly what he's going to do. Nick H says Epps on video telling people to go in. Yeah, those videos are crazy. If you haven't seen them yet, I highly recommend you do. But guys, just because the government tried to take out Walkaway, it really does seem like they might be their own worst enemies in terms of inspiring more people to leave the Democratic Party. This is a thread on Twitter that I wanted to make sure to draw everyone's attention to from Isaiah L. Carter. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm a registered Democrat and someone who donated to Biden's campaign. I supported Kamala Harris from the day she announced her run for president. I was happy when Biden asked her to be her running mate. A year later, I am furious with both of them. A lot of people in my replies were asking what my reasons are for stating this publicly at this time when people are frightened, anxious, and content to remain silent in their tribes or to even bindless defenders of this administration. I have 5 reasons. Here we go. Let's start with the horrendous way Biden presided over the withdrawal from Afghanistan, desperate refugees dropping to their deaths from the landing gear of American airplanes. American trucks, tanks, weapons abandoned to the Taliban, who took Kabul in just 4 days. The way Biden just left American diplomats to find their ways home before the Taliban took back Kabul's airport. The defiant, old man pissed attitude Biden took to defend his decisions when millions of Americans were horrified beyond belief and wanted an explanation. I don't care that Trump said we were leaving and he wanted to be done with a war that lasted 2 decades. You don't just leave our diplomats, federal contractors, and their families, military personnel, and Afghani refugees hanging like that. There's such a thing as duty. And if you think Afghanistan wasn't on purpose, think the F again. He's going to do Ukraine next, folks. You know, I had to have a talk with my husband last night because I pay attention to this stuff more than he does. And I worked a long night and I went downstairs at around 11 o'clock and I said, Victor, you should call your family because the US is pulling diplomats out of Ukraine and they're starting to mobilize troops. And Victor looked at me and it was like, The realization, it was like I could see the gears turning in his head, and the realization of what that meant came over his eyes. Guys, please pray for my husband's family. They're in southern Ukraine. I would appreciate it. Reason number 2, this administration, really the Democratic Party in general at this point, loves the condescension and talking down to people with legitimate concerns and criticisms about the direction our country is going. The Saki bombs, the way Biden snarls at the press, the unprofessional punching down, snarking way Jamie Harrison tweets, which often betrays just how out of touch he is with the electorate. He feels like they know they're wrong, but they don't care. And that goes back to the misreading of Biden's victory in 2020. A lot of liberals who have gone full Pollyanna think is somehow nonsensical, or that NBC News only polled white people as if every black man, woman, and child are just fine with how things are going. That's willfully reductive and dangerous. The swings in this part of the poll show me just how nuanced this thing truly is, especially the 15-point swing against Trump. That tells me that largely the public knows that Biden is terrible, but they're not pining for Trump's return. You really think this administration is going to stop for 5 minutes and maybe reassess the direction they're going in? With polls showing this kind of political realignment? Of course not. They think they've got a mandate from heaven to force the country leftward. Which brings me to number 3. This administration's push for critical race theory and the 1619 Project is the one true way to educate our kids on America's racist foundations. Gonna take a bit on this one and you'll see why. I'm speaking as a black man, folks. I'm speaking as someone who, by most metrics, should be pushing CRT as the best way to teach kids about racism, but I don't. Critical race theory is the most abominable, divisive form of postmodernist indoctrination I've ever seen. This goes far beyond the scam artistry from scum like Ibram X. Kendi and Robin DiAngelo. This goes beyond the forced teaming and monolithism going on in these classrooms, segregating black and white kids in separate groups, then making them fight each other in the oppression wars. Hell, this goes far beyond frauds like Nikki Hannah Jones, a liar and phony, who not only gave us the graphic novel The 1619 Project with tall tales about the American Revolution really being a battle to uphold slavery nearly a century and a half after arrival to the New World. It is my view that critical race theory is far more than the postmodernist immolation of the meaning of racism, already being torn to shreds by turning interpersonal annoyances into microaggressions of privilege. Critical race theory is a Trojan horse for some darker elements. CRT was presented to the Democratic Party and every teachers' union in America as this enlightened, progressive means of educating folks about race. But as with every Trojan horse, there are people inside that want to go beyond the oppressions of race. That would be DEI. You've probably noticed a lot of corporations, nonprofits, and government agencies uttering the words diversity, equity, and inclusion up to and including branches of the military. This is no accident. It is quite intentional and evidence of ideological capture. DEI facilitators and the nonprofits who employ them serve not too dissimilarly from missionaries dispatched from churches to foreign countries to preach the gospel. This field exploded during the Trump years primarily because they had a clear and present enemy in him. In Biden, this industry not only has a friend, it has a full denizen of this industrial complex, a man willing to use the power to take his office to make these societal changes a reality, including the one that has enraged me the most about his presidency. That's later. So I can't wait for Isaiah Carter to finish the rest of his thread. Isaiah, I'm going to be on bated breath for you to finish the rest of this thread. You can follow him at Isaiah L. Carter on Twitter. How based is that guy? I want that guy to be my new best friend, honestly. But guys, I mean, listen, I think that this is a good sign. It might not be, listen, you know, I think that the pandemic has put a lot of people into these red pill positions where even if they were a lifelong Democrat, they're now seeing how crazy this stuff is. And I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. We have to be welcoming. We have to be open and welcoming to anyone who puts stuff like this out there. We have to embrace them. No, I told you so. No, where were you in 2020? No, why did it take you so long to get there? We've been there for years. None of that. None of that. If someone shows up to the party late, you welcome them in and you give them a cocktail and you say, I'm so glad you made it. Because the libtard stuff, the insults, they turn people off and they send people running in the other direction. And you don't want that. Politics is won by recruiting people to your team, not by sending them away or making them feel bad or guilty or any of these things. Maybe I'm going to reach out to him and try to have him on my channel. That'd be pretty rad. That'd be a good conversation, I think. I think that'd be pretty great. Naruto says, I have a story suggestion for Live at 5 tomorrow. A cisgendered woman who is transitioning to male, is transitioning to male to appease her male headmates. Well, actually, Naruto, so tomorrow Live at 5, I'm going to be doing something a little different. So I can't cover it tomorrow because I'm going to be having a conversation with the illustrious organizer of PorkFest, Dennis Pratt himself, tomorrow for Live at 5. And I'm bringing Dennis on because PorkFest is about to sell out. It will be the earliest, I believe, this event has ever sold out in the history of the event. It is close to selling out. And Dennis is going to come on and he's actually going to interview me because last year was my very first PorkFest. I had an amazing time. I have had visions of returning to PorkFest in my head ever since. I know the Mises Caucus is going to have an awesome presence at PorkFest this year. I'm really excited about it. So Dennis is going to actually interview me about what my experience at PorkFest was like. And that's going to be on Live at 5 tomorrow. But maybe, Naruto, I can cover that on Wednesday, or maybe we can even do it in Effed Up News on Sunday. Because you guys know, if you're members of my locals community, you can make suggestions to Effed Up News. You just got to pop into the community. There's a pinned post right at the top, and you can drop it there. All right, guys, I do want to move on. Again, if you just tuned in, please make sure you mount that like button for me. Please double check. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I do this every day at 5 p.m., Sunday through Thursday on this channel. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel. We're going to have to do happy hour a little earlier this week because I got a dinner I got to do. But I'll let you guys know when we're doing that. Just, watch out for the announcements. I'll let you know what's happening. But I do want to move on because this story came out in the National Pulse. And, well, I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. Not surprised at all, sadly. I've been screaming about this for 2 years. Mask mandates causing over 350% surge in childhood speech delays. Now, of course, I want everyone to refer to the CDC for all your mask and vaccine related questions because the CDC is our God. We worship the undying, infallible CDC and Fauci. We go to them with all of our questions. But as a psychologist, a legitimate psychologist, I know that the amount that we express ourselves leads directly to how much we value ourselves and how much we love ourselves and how much self-worth we have. So when I'm seeing things like mask mandates causing over 350% surge in childhood speech delays, what I think is that we are causing a massive mental health crisis and self-esteem crisis that we will not be able to fix in our lifetime. Because when you wear a thing over the thing you use to express yourself every single day, That means you're going to be much less likely to express yourself. Like, this is basic. You want to talk about this debate bro culture on the internet that every time I say when you wear a mask over your mouth, you're going to be less likely to talk, and they're like, source. Where's your source on that, Carlin? Where's the peer-reviewed academic study? Dude, this is just common sense. This is the difference between book smart and street smart, right? This is common sense. If you wear something over your mouth, you are going to be less likely to speak. The less you speak, the less self worth you have. It is really that simple. Mask mandates implemented by the government amidst the COVID-19, there needs to be another word there, national pulse, appear to be causing speech delays in young children. The regulations, which are still in effect in Democrat led cities, including Washington, D.C. and New York, have had adverse effects on the development of speaking abilities in children and babies. This has been a very challenging year, emphasized Jacqueline Teague, the clinical director and speech language pathologist at the Speech and Learning Institute in North Palm Beach, Florida. The clinic experienced a 346% increase in patients who were babies and toddlers amidst the pandemic. Prior to the outset of COVID-19, only 5% of the clinic's patients were in that age group. While today, it stands at 20%. There's no research out there yet saying that this could be causing speech and language delays, but most certainly, I'm sure it's a factor, Teague said. It's very important that kids do see your face to learn, so they're watching your mouth. So I just want to confirm for our YouTube overlords, we're acknowledging there's no research out there yet that says this could be causing speech and language delays. YouTube. I'm just talking about common sense. I'm talking about being a professional psychologist in the real world and common sense. Summarily, many parents interviewed felt the irregular speech patterns were COVID delayed. A parent interviewed by the outlet attributed the delays to social isolation and everyone wearing masks. Thank you, Emphasize, for the super sticker. I like the laughing dog quite a bit. Well done. Greg Santos brings his son Diego to speech therapy twice a week. He would just ramble, baby ramble, Santos said. Certain words that are key did not flow, so that began to raise a red flag. Santos said his son was perfectly healthy at the start of the pandemic. We'd go out and walk around the neighborhood, and there would be no one there. Everyone just stayed in. Santos said he believes social isolation and everyone wearing masks led to Diego's speech delay. It really bothers me. It bothers me a lot. It definitely makes a difference when the world you're growing up in, you can't interact with people and their face. That's super important to babies. We are going to have a massive mental health crisis among children and adolescents that we are not prepared for. There are no amount of therapists that are going to be able to help us alleviate this crisis because most therapists have gone woke and don't know how to do it anymore. If you have kids, please do not mask them. Please demand that they take off the masks every chance they get. This is my personal advice. You can do it or not. You can refer to the CDC or not. But I am truly worried about the ramifications of this in a way that I cannot emphasize this. This is not a problem that is going to be fixed in our lifetime. What they've done to this generation over the past 2 years is not a problem we will be able to fix in our lifetime. And people have got to start taking this seriously. You might think it's just a mask. This is going to impair your child's ability to see themselves as a valuable human being that is worthy of being listened to. This is going to impair their self-image for the rest of their lives. Everything that imprints on a child's brain before they turn 8 years old is virtually impossible to change. It's not impossible, but it's really, really, really hard. That's the magic number. I don't know what the impact of this is going to be, but I know it's not going to be good. And that's everyone's fault. We didn't do enough. We didn't do enough to take care of these kids. We didn't speak up enough. We were too busy bickering among ourselves and infighting among ourselves to really push back against all of this. And I'm not saying people didn't try, because a lot of people did try, but and frankly, I tried more than most. So I don't want to hear any complaint, Carlin, why would you say we didn't try? I tried more than most. And even I will say that we didn't do enough. We didn't do enough. And we are all going to experience the consequences of that. Emphasize, thank you for that other super sticker. I really appreciate the support, my friend. All right, guys, I've got a couple more things. Now, this is like a weird story, but I want to give like a hat tip to Brooke in my locals for bringing this forward. I just think that this is a weird story. Do you guys know the Democrats' freedom to vote legislation? They basically took over a NASA bill that was going to fund NASA. NASA leasing bill morphs into freedom to vote legislation. Politician who introduced the bill pleased but did not expect this outcome. A recent bill meant to facilitate NASA raising money by leasing out underused facilities went in a most unexpected direction. It became the expanding the right to vote bill. The NASA property bill was transformed into the Freedom to Vote John R. Lewis Act under the Democratic leadership of the House of Representatives, seeking to undercut Republican opposition to expanding the franchise. The act includes provisions such as turning Election Day into a federal holiday, allowing same-day voter registration, all this stuff. We all know this. The bill passed the House, but in the meantime, NASA is still without the ability to enter specific types of leases to generate revenue. NASA's authority to do so lapsed on December 31st, which means the agency cannot establish new agreements with companies, government agencies, or educational institutions. So, because the Democrats decided to take over this NASA leasing bill, NASA can now not lease their unused properties. So, the Democrats, in addition to failing colossally to pass this voting act, the Democrats actually cost the taxpayer more money. This is on space.com. This is real. The Democrats actually cost the taxpayers additional money because NASA has all these unused facilities all over the place that they can't lease out because they didn't pass the dang bill and they took it over for this voting rights bill. Frank Lucas, ranking member of the House Scientist, Space, and Technology Committee that oversees NASA activities, says he was unhappy with moving the bill from its original focus to allow the agency to enter enhanced use leases. Good policy doesn't require secrecy in schemes. That's no way to govern. What's more, by stripping this NASA bill and replacing it with an attempt to impose federal control of elections, they have killed our only vehicle to extend NASA's authority to lease out underutilized properties and save taxpayer money. How crazy is that? I mean, again, this is I'm going to make a t-shirt with this on it next. I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, break the next generation and rule them without question. Well, that's exactly what they're trying to do, isn't it, George? That's exactly what they're trying to do. Naruto says, this is a good time to bring up your defund public school shirt. Oh, I do have a defund public school shirt, Naruto. Guys, if you go to my merch store, I've got a great t-shirt that says end systemic racism, defund the schools. It's in my merch store. It's probably down in the description somewhere, or on YouTube there should be some t-shirts too. This is a great shirt. You're right, Naruto. I should push that shirt to sell more because it's a good shirt. Matthew said, "Are we going to have a generation of psychopaths?" It is not out of the realm of possibility to say that we could actually have a generation of sociopaths. And not sociopaths like random people diagnosing them on Twitter with no mental health background at all. We really could have an entire generation of sociopaths. I was talking about this with another psychologist the other day. It is scary, guys. It is actually scary. I'm not the only one who's concerned about this. A lot of psychologists are concerned about this. All right. Well, I do have a couple more things. Now, this I've got to move into a separate window. But I am so thrilled. This is a good thing. This is good news. I am so thrilled that my friend Lily Tang Williams is running for Congress. Lily's been on this channel before. She is an epic fighter for freedom and liberty. Lily had organized the anti-CRT rally that we did in New Hampshire in front of the State House back in April. She organized the group that put that together. She works tirelessly on these causes. And Lily has now announced that she is running for Senate, and it is the most exciting thing that's happened recently. Emphasize says, this looks like a jab at NASA from Elon. Maybe that is it, Emphasize. But guys, what I want to do is I want to play Lily's campaign video for you guys. So I'm going to just get this up in a different browser real quick because I have to do that in order to play the sound, as you guys know. One of the reasons I love Lily so much is that, like, she just goes for it, man. She just goes for it. She doesn't give up. She's like always working on something, always has a plan, always has something she's doing. She's out there every day. She's highly focused. And I actually think that she would be a great member of Congress. Now, in New Hampshire, there are two congressional districts. There's CD1 and there's CD2. CD1 in New Hampshire has like 18,000 Republican candidates. It's like a clown car of candidates in CD1 right now. CD2 only has like 3 candidates that are Republican. And now Lily is one of those candidates. And she would be going up against Annie Kuster, who Annie Kuster is like a former pharmaceutical person who has access to raising a lot of money. I think Lily could outraise her. I really do. So let's watch Lily's video. And guys, just so you know, I will be having Lily on my channel. It's looking like it's going to be like February 8th. But she will be coming on the channel to talk to us. Let's watch her video. Get it up on the screen. Oh, it's Lily's got ads running. I don't even mind. I don't even mind giving Lily ad revenue. Okay. Oh, hang on. Hang on. I'm not showing you guys the tab that I'm seeing. Hang on. Stop sharing. Pilgrim Progressing, thank you for the super sticker. You guys are sending in some great dog super stickers today. I'm enjoying this. All right, let me get the correct tab up so you guys can hear the sound. The sound is clutch. All right, let me know if it comes through.
I'm Lily Tang Williams. I was born in China to illiterate working class parents, suffered under Mao's Cultural Revolution and the communist dictatorship. I wanted freedom. America was my promised land. I was 23 when I fled tyranny. Arriving with $100 in my pocket and knowing very little English, I worked hard to make my American dream come true. Today, I'm happily married with 3 children, have my own businesses, and live in the grand state where the spirit of liberty resides. My concern is that my children and grandchildren will not have the opportunities I had. I see the shadow of authoritarianism cast by politicians who have locked us down, closed small businesses, inflate our money, and mortgage our children's future. I saw it all before in China. The division of society, silencing dissident voices, and taking away parental rights, the indoctrination of youth, endless government mandates and control. People are losing their rights to make a living, and make their own life choices. Are you worried yet? I am. I fear that the country I love is becoming like the country I left. That is why I'm running for Congress. It is time for the majority to speak up, defend our country from the radical left, and keep the American dream alive for our children. My name is Lily Tang Williams. I'm an American citizen by choice, running for Congress in New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District. And please, donate, volunteer, and vote for me. I will be honored to represent, serve people of New Hampshire.
How amazing is that ad? I gotta tell you guys, I found out about this a couple weeks ago, and I have been like busting at the seams to tell everyone that Lily's running for Congress because I was so blown away by this ad. I was like, oh my God. Like, Lily has always been amazing and incredible and is just like, I mean, I always talk about like how there are like a lot of fake people in this game. Lily is not one of those people. She is not. She is the best. I'm so excited. Yeah, wasn't that ad great, guys? So if you want to support Lily, I know, so her donation button is not on the website yet. They're finagling some stuff with the donation, but I know that we're all going to give to her campaign. I know that we all are when they get the donation figured out. And if you want to help her out, go to lilytangwilliams.com. Make sure you follow her everywhere. We need to get Lily Tang Williams on Joe Rogan. She's already been on Tim Pool. She should go on Tim Pool again. We need to get Lily Tang Williams on Joe Rogan. I would love it. She's just the best. It's like when you truly like interact with people who really do believe this stuff, it makes it all worthwhile. It makes you feel like not so crazy. Like, I think that Lily would be amazing in Congress. I think she would be exactly the type of person that needs to be in Congress. Make sure, share her ad everywhere, guys. I tweeted it out. Share it everywhere. Because this is one of those things, like, there's so much effed up stuff in the world, right? We need to really, really lean in when there's really good stuff, and Lily Tang Williams gives me hope. Oh, she's going on Tim Pool again. Good. Good. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that. That's awesome. Good for her. All right, guys, I've got one more thing. This is a quick thing. But again, it's to make everyone happy. This man was forced to give his dog to the Humane Society due to a lengthy hospital stay. This nurse went to the shelter and adopted his dog. She brings him to visit daily and will return him as soon as the man is released. Be the light in the world. Even in this dark times, you can see the dog and the nurse who adopted this guy's dog just so she could bring it to the hospital to be with its owner. Guys, never doubt that even when the world is a pretty messed up place, that there are really good people in it and really good things happen, and every single one of you can be a part of that. Never stop engaging in basic acts of kindness. We can't fix everything. We can only fix ourselves, and what we receive will be the direct result of our contributions. And so if you can make a contributions to someone's life like this, that's a no-brainer. Sam says, Lily greater than squad. We need Lily in Congress. We do need Lily in Congress. All right, guys, that is all I have for this particular episode. Now, as a reminder, I will be getting onto a Zoom call with my locals community in about 50 minutes, 50. So you all have 50 minutes to sign up and join my locals so that you can join our community Zoom at 7 p.m. today. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I actually talk less than everyone else in locals because I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to interact with you. So I cannot wait to connect in a little bit And how you sign up to be a member of my locals is you head over to kb.locals.com/support and you sign up to be a member. You can sign up at $5 a month. You can sign up at $50 a year. You can also make a one-time gift. Oh, Naruto, I'm so sorry, Naruto. I missed your super chat. I'm sorry. Naruto says, Lily raised in Mao's communist China is here to fight communism and take names. Yes, she is, Naruto. I apologize for missing your super chat, my friend. Thank you for the support as always. Wait, is this real? Matthew, is this real? Biden just called Peter Ducey from Fox a stupid SOB on live TV. Well, we're gonna have to go find a clip of that, aren't we? But anyway, guys, anyway, again, if you want to join my locals, it's $5 a month. I paid more than $5 for a cup of coffee yesterday. $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can make a one-time gift. Every time you make a one-time gift through my locals, you unlock all the features of my locals for like the duration of that gift, which I think is pretty cool. You can also support me through PayPal and even crypto options. I have all that in the description below. And guys, if you're feeling extra generous, you're going to want to make sure you head over to activelyunwoke.com. Make sure you pre-order that book, man. It's coming. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do lots of fun stuff together. Now, tomorrow, like I said earlier, I will be back on the channel at 5 p.m. to talk with Dennis Pratt, the organizer of PorkFest. And he's going to interview me about my experience at PorkFest, the great libertarian festival that happens in June. I cannot wait. Oh, you can also see, here's that shirt I was telling you guys about. Hang on. Here's that shirt in my merch store I was telling you guys about. Look at that. How cool is that shirt? I'm really proud of that shirt. End systemic racism, defund the schools. And guys, just so you know, Joshua will be back tomorrow for our regular Tuesday night stream. Nothing remotely controversial. Now, don't tell him I told you this. Tomorrow is Joshua's birthday. So we will be I'm going to make a special thumbnail. We're going to have Joshua birthday edition, nothing remotely controversial tomorrow. He will not want anyone making a big deal out of his birthday. Of course, he's turning 25, as you all know. But we will be back tomorrow at 9:30 for the show that we didn't do last week because he was sick. And we're all going to welcome him back, because I know that everyone loves Joshua more than they love me. All right, guys, I will see you live again tomorrow at 5. This is a really good idea. I'm gonna make Joshua do this. Be like, Joshua, the people have asked that you tell us about you for your birthday. This is a great idea, Reagan. I don't think he's gonna want to do it. Joshua's a very private person. I don't know if he's gonna want to do it, but I am gonna make this suggestion. Joshua was telling me today about how he has some psychic premonition that a lot of stuff is going to get revealed about the government very soon, particularly men in the government. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Guys, I will be back tomorrow again, live at 5 p.m. per usual, and then we'll do the 9:30 stream as well. And now I'm going to go get ready and take a little break before I chat with my locals in about 45 minutes, and I will look forward to emphasize, if you want me to unblock you on Twitter, you have to email me, man. Here's how you get unblocked by me. You email me, you tell me your handle, because I can't intuit your handle, dude. I don't know what your handle is. Then you admit to whatever caused me to block you in the first place, because I'm going to look. And if you say, Carlin, I didn't do anything, I'm going to look and I'm going to say you called me a fat bee or something like that. Something caused me to block you. It wasn't just for my health. It wasn't for play. Just own up to what you did, and I'm much more inclined to unblock you. Okay, but you have to email me. Okay, you have to email me. My email is, you can go to drcarlin.com/contact, send me an email, and then we can get the whole thing worked out. But that is the process. If I have blocked you on Twitter, email me, tell me your handle, own up to what you did, and I'll take a look and we'll see what's what. But the answer will probably be yes, but you got to email me and ask. All right, guys. I'll see you in a little bit. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see my locals very, very soon.